Hello, this is the third part of a manhwa about a tree-loving boy. Don't forget to like and leave comments, as it helps with promotion. Subscribe to our Patreon to support the channel, and watch videos earlier, and without censorship. Also, join our Facebook group where we post artwork. It's a good idea to follow it in case our YouTube channel gets blocked or banned, which is possible considering the content I'm summarizing. Let's get started. We left off with Lee handing Si-young her fiery bat and commanded her to do this while looking at herself. During this process, the fiery bat kept hitting Si-young in the face, and viewing her own photo made her feel self-conscious as if she was looking in a mirror. After a while, the guy asked, "So, have you learned to breathe through your nose now?" She answered with clear joy and hope for what she still doesn't know. All this angered Lee. He had a feeling that he was just being used, and he told her to stand at the table with her back to him. The tree prayed that our boy would enter faster without hesitation, and tormented her even more. He hit the on the ass in response, causing her only laughter. It amazed the hero what an amazing entity she was, but to be honest, in a way, although it still infuriated him, well, it still turned him on. He decided to insert her badge into her tights to look at him during the whole process. Si-young, who completely got rid of her elegance, asked, even more, to finally do it, and when he touched the fiery bat of her intimate place, she was caught up with joy. The lesson continued for a few more minutes until the hero again began to be annoyed that this bitch was enjoying the process too much. Therefore, he began to strangle her. And as the girl was already beginning to lose the ability to breathe, it was still evident that she was getting sincere pleasure. Then Lee began to cosplay a jackhammer, hammering this concrete harder and harder. It was already a kind of challenge, and he wanted to know how much she could withstand. Nevertheless, our hero was still not a killer, and he told her, if you can't breathe, knock twice, and if you want harder, then more at the same time. Si-young began to knock 5, 8, 11 times, even reached 20. The boy was in complete shock. She wants more tougher, even though she's already fainting and rolling her eyes. He was scared of it, so he let her go. The sacred tree apparently has a hard time talking after the strangulation, which is why she took markers and wrote more. As a result, it continued for some time. Lee tried to hurt her, for example, by twisting her nipples. However, everything was in vain. The girl was getting high from all this as a result. And as a result, once again he ended to inside. The funny thing is that after they finished classes, our boy apparently got very angry that the girl got such pleasure from it, and decided to tie the girl up. Of course, at first she agreed without suspecting what he would do. Then Lee just ran away, leaving Si-young to figure out how to get out herself, until a whole group of students showed up at the lesson. It seems like Si-young managed to escape, although they aren't showing it to us. A few days after Lee did a great job with Si-young, he received a call from an unknown number. He hesitates to answer because he hasn't given his number to anyone, and he's feeling uneasy. Fortunately, he decides to answer the call at the last moment. It turns out that Si-young has somehow successfully secured Lee admission to a prestigious academy. She also informs him that she will come to collect her arboreal balls. The guy asks her to bring some pizza on the way, and she agrees, which surprises him. After the phone call, Lee removes his mask of attractiveness and is happy that he's now one step closer to continuing to fill his encyclopedia of tree people, as doing everything with tree people is his hobby. It's worth noting that the World Tree of Purity sees everything he does, and it's perfectly fine with her that her future husband will be unfaithful to her again and again. She continues to take care of him, even asking him to wash his hands when coming from outside, which is starting to annoy him. Suddenly, our young man remembers a small arrangement with her. If he manages to get into the academy, he will receive a small reward in the form of a love potion that can be spent on gacha. But before Lee can ask her about it, someone rings the doorbell. A package arrives on behalf of the Tree Corporation. The hero hurriedly opens the box, but is disappointed to find that it contains a small sapling, and Purity tells him that this is the promised love. The guy gets angry and thinks she's a crazy bitch who abandoned him with the child. Apparently, he forgot who initiated the incident on the mountain that led to him being sent to this world. Lee asks Purity, what if she has evidence that the child is his? Eventually, he takes responsibility for what happened and takes a flower pot to take care of the sapling. After some time, Si-young arrives and starts knocking loudly, making Lee abandon all his tasks. He's pleased to see the pizza but immediately gets upset when he finds out it has pineapples on it and shouts in anger. The girl called him a dummy and said that if he didn't like it, she'd eat it herself. The hero responds that he didn't say he wouldn't eat it, and in the end, he even starts to enjoy the pizza. The tree calls him a son of bitch. The guy, outraged by this, asked why. She clarifies that he raped her on their first meeting, so what else could he be called if not a dog? Lee counters by saying that Si-young lured a cadet into an empty room and took his fiery bat. Ask, who is she if not a dog? Of course, they eventually calm down. But it's possible that all of this is part of our guy's master plan to seduce and entice her for another lesson, only this time at his place. This guy is actually a genius. He tells her to sit down while he prepares tea, but since there are no chairs or a sofa in the apartment, the only place to sit is his bed. As the kettle boils, Lee unexpectedly reveals that it was his first time in the office. So, as the conversation turns to this, Si-young tells him that it was her first time too, and she doesn't actually have a fiancé. She just thought that if she said that, he would stop. The guy gets upset, saying that every time she opens her mouth, she continues to lie, and he concludes that if it was her first time and she enjoyed doing it in a public place, then she truly is a dog. He spreads her legs and insists that she will not remove his hands because she likes it. But suddenly the girl shouts "shut up" and demands to give her arboreal balls. However, our boy is not like most of the main characters of the anime. And not because he gets excited at the sight of trees, but because he knows that if a girl comes to your house, she needs something more than some arboreal ball. Therefore, she is interested in where to insert them, this time from the front or back, or maybe she prefers to insert something different place. The aristocrat is furious, and Lee is like, okay, if you don't want it, then nothing will happen and you don't have to be angry. She replies that she wasn't angry and didn't say she didn't want to. Our hero grabs her and prepares to kiss her, asking, well, what are you already tuning in? There's only dirty thing in your head. At that moment, when I had already decided that I would have to blur a lot of things, the girl suddenly exploded because of that phrase, pushed him away, took the balls, and told him not to be late for the plane. This caught Lee off guard, and his banana plantation instantly deflated because he didn't know that the academy was located in the middle of the sea. We move to the dormitory, where the induction ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow. The guy is happy that he now has a scholarship and decides to celebrate it in the cafeteria. By the way, you can somewhat call our young man a scholar because he plans to start in-depth research on some tree, and we know that he always carries his own large instrument for examination with him. Alright, let's move on to the moment when Lee is already getting to know his neighbor, and, of course, this girl is likely a tree people too. She happily introduced herself and gave Lee a gift, flower tea. During the greeting, the girl bows and it becomes clear that her strength of his ass is equal to 0. As our hero continues to chat with the mysterious neighbor, he is overwhelmed by strange feelings reminiscent of the day he first met Si-young. The girl introduces herself as Gu-seul, which in Korean means honeysuckle. As expected, she is one of the sacred tree people, although Lee is not sure if honeysuckle trees really exist. He looked it up, and it's generally a shrub, but Lee doesn't seem to mind who to explore. After they finish their introduction, Seul, who behaves very energetically, quickly approaches him and asks, can she see his face? Lee evades and refuses to show his face, explaining that he has his reasons for it, as he knows that his mask is the only thing preventing everyone from feeling nauseous at the sight of his true face. Afterward, Seul rushes off to feed Joni, her plant companion. The guy remarks that his neighbor looks like a little dog, maybe a Shiba or a retriever, and then he goes to water his own child that he brought with him to the academy, which has already started to sprout. Lee decides to name his newly sprouted plant Shiba, and then it goes into dormancy as the first day at the academy proved to be quite challenging. In the morning, there was an induction ceremony, and the first classes were scheduled. Our hero ended up in the same group as the characters Si-woo and Azalea, and his first professor for the next 4 years would be none other than Si-young herself. She warned everyone that she doesn't tolerate discrimination between regular people and tree people. Additionally, our protagonist would be studying together with Seul, who had moved in as his roommate. It didn't take even 5 minutes before his head nearly exploded from her non-stop chatter, despite her being super cute. Suddenly, while Seul was rambling on about something, our young man received his second main quest, titled The Way of an Insider. His future wife informed him that he had exactly 1 week to make 3 friends at the academy, and if he failed to do so, he would, of course, die. What other consequences could there be? In the first 5 minutes of study, Lee experienced an incredible range of emotions, from joy because there were many new trees to explore in his group, to horror and the burden of new quests. It was during this time that Azalea received an urgent message from some oracle, instructing her to bring Lee with her. Reluctantly, she stood up with clenched fists, irritated by the fact that Lee had entered the academy despite failing the exam. She watched from the sidelines as he made every effort to make friends, but every time he was asked to remove his mask, and when he did, everyone ran away because of his appearance. This triggered Lee's anger management disorder, and he began to insult anyone who refused to be friends with him. Azalea was shocked that she had to approach this wretch. At this moment, Seul sneaks up to her and grabs her by the ass and shouts down. This is her last name and is called Wild Chive in Korean. After finishing her unexpected attack, Azalea asks if Lee is to her liking since she notices that she keeps staring at him. But, of course, Azalea denies it. Then, Gusul asks her about Lee's appearance since they took the exams together, and she has the opportunity to see his face. Azalea tells her that he looks like a trampled persimmon. I now understand that I'm a bit sorry they don't show us how people around Lee see him. It would be very interesting to see what he has become. Later, when she's alone, Azalea reflects on who the candidate for the husband of the world tree might be and speculates that if it's Siwoo, he will definitely succeed. And he might be able to help her somehow, without specifying what she means. Lee is not even considered an option by her. Moving on to the end of the day, a tired and disheartened Lee, who couldn't make any friends throughout the day, as he was repeatedly called creepy and exploded in anger each time, is sitting alone. In the end, Purity approaches him and gives him a hint by showing that the closest person willing to befriend him is Siwoo, while Azalea, as it turns out, feels disgusted toward him, and he doesn't understand why. Due to all of this, his anger management disorder is triggered once again, and Lee loses his composure and tries to throw an entire can of juice. Just as he's about to do it, Siwoo suddenly appears out of nowhere, smiling, and asks if he doesn't want to drink. He can drink it. A conversation ensues between them, and Siwoo, the handsome guy, sits next to Lee. He finally takes a sip of the juice, and he enjoys it so much that he showers our protagonist with compliments about the amazing taste. They chat a bit more, and Siwoo promises to tell Lee about delicious food some other time. That's how Lee finally found his first friend, and he didn't have to do anything special, he just needed to be himself. Next, he decides that the next person he needs to befriend is Azalea, as she's the only one he hasn't had a falling out with. However, it seems it won't be easy. Fortunately, Si-young comes to his aid once again. More precisely, she calls and realizes from his voice that he's feeling down. She had heard that he had socialization problems, and since she was his professor, she promised to help. They meet at the elevator, and Lee asks how she plans to help him. The girl holds out her hand and opens her mouth, indicating that she'll take care of him using this. It's obvious that Lee was thinking about sucking, and I won't lie, to be honest, I thought so too, but it turns out she was hinting to go for a drink. At this point, we will conclude. This was the end of the 12th chapter. Leave a bunch of likes and write more comments, so I can see story interests you. For now, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to Patreon to support the channel and watch uncensored video, as well as join the Facebook group so you don't get lost. Goodbye, everyone.